So today we are going to learn about the fascinating trajectory of the river Ganges flowing into the salty ocean. But ultimately, the river Ganges starts from the covering of the universe. So before we go into um, the specific verses, I wanted to again share the screen and show a few things, and then we will return back. Okay, so sharing. Okay, I hope you can see the. Okay, so first some clarification of the terminologies. So this is the famous picture that we are aware of, which depicts the universe and shows how the 14 planetary systems are spanning within one universe. And typically we refer to the division as the lower, middle, and upper planetary system. We also say that there are 14 planetary systems within one universe. So here are some references that you can become aware of. So this is the reference to the three worlds, right? The three planetary systems of Bhus, Bhuvar, and Swar, or also referred to as Patal, Martya, and Swarga. So these are the three planetary systems reference. And then elsewhere, Srila Prabhupada had talked about the division into the 14 planetary systems. And Prabhupada also elsewhere talks about there are 6 planetary systems above Pur Loka and 7 planetary systems below it. Therefore, the entire universe is known as Chaturdash Bhuvan, indicating that it has 14 different planetary systems. So just first try to see the context in which the descent of the Ganges is being described, because it is going to start from the top of the universe. And if you see the positioning of the Dhruva Loka, which is just above the Bhuvar Loka, and in this picture you can see the 7 sages, and the Bhuvar Loka is considered to be the residence of the advanced human beings, the Gandharvas, and so on and so forth. So in the third canto as well as the fourth canto, there are references that the middle portion of the sky is called Bhuvar Loka, as confirmed by both Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami. And then there are 3 planetary systems, the upper, middle, and lower. Those influenced by the mode of goodness are given places in the upper planetary system, the Brahmalok, Tapalok, Janalok, and Maharlok. And those who are influenced by the mode of passion are given places in the Bhurlok and Bhuvarlok. And generally, the word Antariksh we will see later in the 5th canto, but it's just for the sake of some background before we jump into the specific descent of the Ganges, because we need to know about the positioning of the sun. The sun is situated vertically in the middle of the universe, in the area between Bhurloka and Bhuvarloka, which is called Antariksh, the outer space. And the distance between the sun and the circumference of the universe is 25 koti yojanas, or 2 billion miles. This is going to be important to understand the rate at which the Ganges is flowing, which is quite astounding. So keep this figure in mind. And then beneath the Vidyadhar Loka, Charana Loka, and Siddha Loka in the sky called Antariksh are the places of enjoyment for the Yakshas, Rakshasas, Pishachas, ghosts, and so on and so forth. The Antariksh extends as far as the wind blows and the clouds float in the sky. Above this, there is no more air. So in this picture, you can see this vertical dimension now very clearly. So we talked about the Bhumandal, which is like that flat disk with all these rings representing the Dvipas or the islands. And then we see that the central part is a Mount Meru. And with respect to that, now you can see the layout of the floating the 14 planetary systems. And you can see the specific distances growing as you go higher towards Satyaloka or Brahmaloka. So now let's come back to the picture that I shown yesterday. So here we learned about our Jambudvip, and how that is divided into the 9 varshas. The separations are created by the 19, not 19, but various mountains that we see here. Overall, there are, I think there were 19 mountains total. Yes. Okay, so now having seen that picture, so the whole description goes like this, that on the top of Mount Meru, the Ganges divides into 4 branches, each of which gushes in a different direction, east, west, north, and south. These branches, known by the names Sita, Alakananda, Chakshu, and Bhadra, flow down to the ocean. I just wanted to first give you some visual description, then it would be easier to connect. And again, you can see in terms of the Brahmapuri and the varshas that are mentioned, you can see the 4 different branches of the Ganges, like the Sita, Alakananda, Chakshu, and Bhadra, and how they are flowing in relation to the specific varshas that are here. And this is like the closer view of the Brahmapuri and the 8 other residential quarters of the demigods. So again, this is a closer view where we are learning that the branch of the Ganges known as the Sita flows through Brahmapuri atop Mount Meru, and from there it runs down to the nearby peaks of the Kesharachal mountains, which are like a bunch of filaments around Mount Meru. Then it falls to the peak of Gandhamadan mountain and then flows into the land of Bhadrashva Varsha to the ocean of salt water in the west. And the branch of the Ganges known as Bhadra flows from the northern side of Mount Meru into the peaks of Kumuda, Nila, Shweta, and Shringavan mountains in succession, down in the province of Kuru and with the saltwater ocean in the north. And the branch of the Ganges known as Chakshu falls onto the summit of Malevan mountain, and from there cascades into the land of Ketumala Varsha. The Ganges flow incessantly through Ketumala Varsha, and in this way also reaches the ocean of salt water in the east. And then the most importantly, the branch of the Ganges known as the Alakananda flows from the southern side of Brahmapuri. It falls down with fierce force upon the mountains Hemkut and Himkut and onto the tract of land Bharatvarsha, then flows into the ocean of salt water in the south. And this is the overall trajectory that the Ganga takes. So Srila Shukadev Goswami describes this long stream of the Ganga, which is considered to be the crest jewel of all splendors, how she makes her appearance and then gradually flow downward to grace the Sumeru mountain before continuing her descent. So Srila Shukadev Goswami says that my dear king, Lord Vishnu, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, appeared as Vamandev in the sacrificial arena of Bali Maharaj. Then he extended his left foot to the end of the universe and pierced a hole in its covering with a nail of his big toe. Through the hole, the pure water of the causal ocean entered this universe as the Ganges river. Having washed the lotus feet of the Lord, which are covered with reddish powder, the water of the Ganges acquired a very beautiful pink color. Every living being can immediately purify his mind of material contamination by touching the transcendental water of the Ganges, yet its water remain ever pure. Because the Ganges directly touches the lotus feet of the Lord before descending within the universe, she is known as Vishnupadi. Later, she received other names like Janvi and Bhagirathi. This Bhagirathis context will come in the ninth canto. At that time, we'll learn again about the descent of the Ganges. Um, After 1000 millenniums, the water of the Ganges descended on Dhruvaloka. So you can see how long time it took. 1000 millenniums. So 1000 millennium is essentially 1000 cycle of the yuga. One cycle of the yuga is 4.32 million years. 1000 times that is basically 4.32 billion years. So this reference you have to keep in mind, because from that we can derive the rate at which the Ganges is effectively flowing. From the distance that was mentioned, we saw it was before we looked at it, like here I was showing just to kind of catch the context. Sorry. Yeah, this one. So the distance between the sun and the circumference of the universe is 25 koti yojanas, or 2 billion miles. So keep that in mind. Okay. Therefore, all the learned sages and scholars proclaim Dhruvaloka to be Vishnupad, situated on Lord Vishnu's lotus feet. So Srila Prabhupada notes the power of the Ganges in the purport number 1, that the water of the Ganges is called Patita Pavani, the deliverer of all sinful living beings. It is a proven fact that a person who regularly bathes in the Ganges is purified both externally and internally. Externally, his body becomes immune to all kinds of disease, and internally, he gradually develops a devotional attitude toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it is mentioned that that Dhruva Maharaj, who was the famous son of Maharaj Uttanpad and considered to be a Mahabhagavat devotee of the Supreme Lord, is known as the most exalted devotee of the Supreme Lord because of his firm determination in executing devotional service. Knowing that the sacred Ganges water washes the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, Dhruva Maharaj, situated in his own planet, to this very day accepts that water on his head with great devotion. Because he constantly thinks of Krishna very devoutly, within the core of his heart, he is overcome with ecstatic anxiety. Tears flow from his half open eyes and eruptions appear on his entire body. So, and then the Saptarishi, the 7 great sages, they continuously and respectfully keep the water of the Ganges on their heads, for they have concluded that this is the ultimate wealth, the perfection of all austerities, and the best means of prosecuting transcendental life. And in the text number 3 purport, Srila Prabhupada notes that only by achieving pure devotional service of the Lord can one give up all other engagements as insignificant. So the transcendental source of the Ganges is the causal ocean, and from there, she flows from Dhruvaloka to the planets of the 7 sages. Okay. And then, remember that the picture I had shown before, you saw the planets of the 7 sages, the Bhuvarloka. So from Dhruvaloka to the planets of the 7 sages, before being carried in billions of celestial airplanes to the moon, like Chandralok. And she then flows to Brahma's abode atop the Mount Meru, right? So in this picture, you can see. So causal ocean then is coming down to Dhruva Loka and then Chandraloka and then top of Mount Meru. And there she divides into 4 branches, each of which gushes in different directions, east, west, north, and south. And these branches, known by the names Sita, Alaknanda, Chakshu, and Bhadra, flow down to the ocean. And thus, in her 4 branches, she purifies the different varshas on her journey to the sea. And the persons who come to bathe in this Ganges are fortunate. It's not very difficult for them to achieve with every step the results of performing great sacrifices like the Rajasuya and Ashwamedh yagyas. Many other rivers, both big and small, flow from the top of Mount Meru. These rivers are like daughters of the mountain and they flow to various tracts of land in hundreds of branches. Now, it is important to do some analysis here. This is again thanks to Sadhaputta Prabhu's beautiful rendition of the 5th canto. So, according to the Bhagavatam, clearly the Ganges consists of water from the Karan ocean or the causal ocean that entered the upper portion of the universe through a hole that was kicked by Lord Vamandev in the universal covering. So this water takes, it is mentioned, 1,000 yugas, right, to reach the planet Dhruvaloka or the pole star. And the pole star is situated approximately 30 million miles above the sun. So now you can understand the calculation here. So water is taking how long time? It is taking 1,000 yugas, which is basically 4.32 billion years to reach the Dhruva Loka, which is situated approximately 30 million miles above the sun. Since the sun is vertically situated in the center of the universe, which is pointed to by the 5th canto, 20th chapter, 43rd verse, this means that the Ganges covers a distance of some 2 billion miles in 4.32 billion years. Now, you can imagine that's a very, very slow rate because covering 2 billion miles in 4.32 billion years, I don't think we are aware of any sluggish river like that. So clearly, there is a transformation of time and possibly of space that is going on in the higher regions of the universe. And that's what you have to keep in mind. So from Dhruvaloka, the Ganges reaches the planets of the 7 sages. And then from there, it is carried to the moon. How is it carried to the moon? Through the spaceways of the demigods in billions of celestial airplanes. And from the moon, it falls down to the top of Mount Meru, where it gets divided into the 4 branches. And that's what this picture in front of you is showing. And finally, one of these branches becomes the Ganges of India. So another interesting thing to keep in mind that since the moon is continuously moving in its orbit, it's hard to see how the top of Mount Meru could always be directly underneath it in an ordinary geometric sense. And therefore, it's clear that the descent of the Ganges from the moon to Mount Meru must involve physical properties that are presently unknown. And the final appearance of the Ganges in India also requires our expansion of the mind, because we certainly do not see the the descent from the higher region of the universe if you try to trace the route of the Ganges. So clearly, there are a lot of experiences that require um, our understanding of higher dimensions at play, just like we were discussing yesterday. Therefore, our conclusion is that if we take the description of the descent of the Ganges seriously, we must be prepared to view it in the context of principles that go beyond the framework of our familiar physical theories. So that's what I would like to emphasize. So Kirtan Prabhu, you can go back to your screen sharing one more time. I want to read a few purports there.
Could you stop sharing, Prabhu?
Yes. Okay. So first of all, purport number 4, where Srila Prabhupada mentions that we should always remember that the Ganges water or Ganges river comes from the causal ocean beyond the covering of the universe after the water of the causal ocean leaks through the hole created by Lord Vamandev. It flows down to Dhruvaloka, the pole star, and then to the 7 planets beneath Dhruvaloka. Then it is carried to the moon by innumerable celestial airplanes. And then it falls to the top of Mount Meru, which is known as Sumeru Parvat. In this way, the water of the Ganges finally reaches the lower planets and the peaks of the Himalayas, and from there it flows through Haridwar and throughout the plains of India, purifying the entire land. How the Ganges water reaches the various planets from the top of the universe is explained herein. The celestial airplanes carry the water from the planets of the sages to other planets. So-called advanced scientists of the modern age are trying to go to the higher planets, but at the same time they're experiencing a power shortage on Earth. If they were actually capable scientists, they could personally go by airplane to other planets, but this they are unable to do. Having now given up the moon excursions, they are attempting to go to other planets but without success. So, and that one, and then let's read one more purport, which is kind of connecting the point of where the Ganges is coming down and creating a sacred place here. Seeing that one. I'm missing. Hold on. That one is an important purport for us to. Yes, purport number 9. So Prabhupada writes here, the place where the Ganges flows into the salt water of the Bay of Bengal is still known as Ganga Sagar, or the meeting place of the Ganges and the Bay of Bengal. On Makar Sankranti, in the month of January, February, thousands of people still go there to bathe, hoping to be liberated. That they can actually be liberated in this way is confirmed herein. For those who bathe in the Ganges at any time, the results of great sacrifices like the Ashwamedh and Rajasuya Yagya are not at all difficult to achieve. Most people in India are still inclined to bathe in the Ganges. There are many places where they can do so. At Prayag or Allahabad, many thousands of people gather during the month of January to bathe in the confluence of the Ganges and the Yamuna. Afterward, many of them go to the confluence of the Bay of Bengal and the Ganges to take bath there. Thus, it is a special facility for all the people of India that they can bathe in the water of the Ganges at so many places of pilgrimage. Thank you.